There's something so fitting about the voice of Doug from Up also being the voice of the user manual for the entire universe. Hey everybody, welcome to Mainely Movies. Today I'm going to be talking about the 29th Pixar film, 2025's animated sci-fi adventure movie, Elio. If you're new here, please consider subscribing for a variety of movie-related content, like reviews, rank lists, and trailer reactions. All my reviews include a breakdown of the pros and cons, my rating, and even some tailored film recommendations, so be sure to watch through to the end of this video for all of that extra content. Elio stars the vocal talents of Yonas Kibreab, Zoe Saldaña, and Remy Edgerly, and was directed by Madeline Sharafian, Domee, and Adrian Molina. It tells the story of a lonely 11-year-old who endeavors to be abducted by aliens, only to be mistaken as the leader of Earth in the midst of an intergalactic conflict. It seems like the film originality debate has been popping up more and more often lately, especially when it comes to family films. For quite some time, we've seemingly been inundated by franchises and IPs, with the majority of family films being sequels, remakes, live action or otherwise, or adaptations of video games, books, and TV shows. The halls of cinematic discourse echo with accusations of soulless cash grabs on a daily basis now. People claim they want original stories, that they'd rather see studios like Pixar put out new original films rather than the next Toy Story or Inside Out. And yet, time and time again, audiences don't actually turn out for these original films. There are, of course, many contributing factors for this phenomenon. Unappealing stories, an unwillingness to spend money to see an unknown versus the comparative guaranteed enjoyment of a sequel. Even poor or uninspired marketing can have an effect. Whatever the reasons, the fact remains that Pixar hasn't had a genuinely or immediately successful original film since Coco in 2017. Sure, not every original film since 2017 has completely bombed at the box office. Some films, like Elemental, have even managed to do fairly well in the long run, after an abysmal opening weekend. And of course, we'll never know for sure how those 3 Disney Plus streaming releases would have fared in theaters, though I think this trend we've been seeing allows us to make a fairly educated guess. And that trend, unfortunately, seems to continue here, with Elio setting the new record for the lowest box office opening in the 30-year theatrical history of Pixar. Now, I want to be clear, I'm not saying this in an attempt to dissuade anyone from seeing Elio. If anything, it's the exact opposite. There's nothing inherently wrong with this film, and it's totally possible that it'll have legs like Elemental and turn around to break even or even be a moderate financial success. But the film's current performance certainly begs the question: do we, the collective film goers of the world, actually want original films? Or do we just like the idea of an original film? The box office trends we've been seeing have, of course, resoundingly indicated no, we don't actually want original films. Again, there are a lot of reasons why we might be seeing this, including behavioral changes of how people consume film now, but that's clearly not the whole story. I mean, Inside Out 2 absolutely obliterated Pixar's previous box office records last year, so it's not just a matter of people supposedly not going to the movies anymore. Is it instead a desire for the expected comfort of familiarity? Whether intentional or not, probably not, Elio is actually an interesting experimental test case for that question. It's not a sequel and has no inherent IP draw apart from basic Pixar brand recognition. For all intents and purposes, it's an original film, but one that feels familiar, almost excessively so at times. From the story, to the animation, to the themes, Elio is reminiscent of several other Pixar movies. But it doesn't stop there. The influence of many other live-action sci-fi films are prominently present too. It's a very familiar story, one that detractors will derogatorily call derivative. And while it does have its moments of unique creativity, and works as an overall film, it does have an unmistakable, tried-and-true template feel to it. It's enjoyable, but the simple story and comparatively minimal extraterrestrial world building don't do much to give this film its own unique feel. Since the studio's inception, Pixar has been able to incorporate an array of relatable, emotionally mature themes into nearly all of their films. It's a bit of a source of pride for the studio, and something that I think has always helped set Pixar's movies slightly apart from most of its animated competitors' films. After 29 films, most people know what they're gonna get from the studio. and it's all but expected that you'll cry or tear up at least once when you go to a new Pixar movie. Thanks to the studio's practically trademark blend of heart and humor, you're almost always met with a wholly satisfying emotional experience, even if the story itself doesn't particularly capture you. Elio still manages to have that quality, mostly, bookended by relatable and moving emotional moments. The film's primary themes revolve around loneliness, feeling unwanted or unable to fit in, and the importance of friendship and connection, though some specific hard-hitting family elements add some additional depth to the grass is always greener lessons. This all seems pretty typical for Pixar, right? These emotional thematic aspects are good, and the film certainly has some heart to it, but somehow it still feels a bit lacking on that front. The movie ends with some strong emotion, which leaves you feeling that classic Pixar emotional high, but those feelings aren't as consistent throughout the runtime as usual. The usual blend feels off somehow. One of the things that's always helped to make Pixar as successful as it is its ability to equally appeal to both kids and adults. Not just in the jokes and pop culture references way of early DreamWorks movies, but at a deeper base level. There's usually this dual appeal and well-crafted, multi-layered approach to Pixar that allows younger audiences to even age with the film, gaining a different appreciation for a story as they begin to more fully understand some of the underlying concepts. Elio isn't devoid of that. There are some themes and ideas, especially related to parental expectations and understanding, that transcend age barriers. But this is a Pixar film that absolutely skews towards younger audiences, more so than nearly all of the studio's previous output. That's not necessarily a bad thing, of course. It's important for kids to feel a sense of relatability with specific targeted themes, too. And that young target audience will probably enjoy Elio just as much as any other Pixar movie. It's a cute and very sweet film, full of color and energy. It's an enjoyable, familiar sci-fi story with good messages, but it just doesn't quite have that usual Pixar magic. It's close. It has most of the elements you'd expect, but it's just lacking Pixar's secret proprietary binding ingredient, whatever that enigmatic thing actually is. Alright, let's talk about the pros and cons. The biggest pro has got to be the themes. This is certainly not an uncommon pro for Pixar movies, so definitely nothing too out there or shocking here. The broad approach is one of a classic grass is always greener on the other side of the fence, or galaxy story, but the individual thematic components of that remain universally resonant. Feelings of loneliness and isolation, and a desire to find connection are things we can experience regardless of age. So it was interesting to see these feelings manifest in not only young characters like Elio and Glorodon, but also adults like Aunt Olga. Pro number 2 is how sweet this film is. That's not something I usually say about Pixar movies. That's not to say they don't usually have some degree of sweetness to them, but usually the underlying emotion is able to add a bit more depth to things. Elio has a little of that, but this film seems to prioritize sweet entertainment over most other things. It's still a very enjoyable movie, but there's not quite as much emotional or story substance to it as usual. And this segues us nicely to the first con of the film, which is the fact that it seems to cater to an especially young target audience. So I'm sure some people are gonna look at this and say, well, duh, it's Pixar. This is a kids movie. To which I would counter and say, in general, I don't think Pixar makes kids movies. They make animated family films that can usually be enjoyed equally by adults and kids, often for very different reasons. This film still has some of that dual appeal, largely thanks to the touching themes that bookend the movie, but it definitely feels like it's targeting younger audiences more than we usually see from a Pixar movie. That won't necessarily be a bad thing for everybody, so this won't make everyone's cons list, but the lack of Pixar's usual balance was a little disappointing for me. Con number 2 is surprisingly the world building. This is much more minor of a con than the first, but is almost equally disappointing. Pixar usually does a fantastic job when it comes to world building. Think about Toy Story, Inside Out, Soul, Coco. They're creative worlds with their own interesting set of rules. The Communiverse offers up some moderately fun concepts, but they're never really explored or utilized that much. So as crazy as it seems, the space sequences and extraterrestrial world end up feeling a bit flat. Not dull exactly, but at least I personally found the Earth set scenes to be much more interesting and emotionally affecting. Before I give you my rating and recommendations, I want to remind you that if you're interested in buying Elio or any of the other films I mentioned today, I do have affiliate links for all of them in the description below. I get a small commission from anything you buy using one of my links, so I'd really appreciate it if you'd use them if you're in the market for any of these movies. I'm gonna give Elio 3.5 out of 5 paws, though right now after this first watch, it's right on the edge between 3 and 3.5 for me. It's a sweet sci-fi adventure with fun animation and an enjoyable, albeit very familiar, story of extraterrestrial assumptions and misunderstandings. It's aimed at kids a bit more exclusively than typical Pixar, but the relatable themes and strong emotional bookends help to give it an 11th hour boost. I would recommend Elio to younger Pixar fans. If ever there was a Pixar movie aimed directly at kids, this is it. It'll help young audience members understand and process their feelings of loneliness, but will also certainly appeal to members of non-traditional families who've experienced similar loss, allowing for a deeper connection with the story and characters. That said, most Pixar fans of any age will probably enjoy aspects of this movie, not to mention the reassurance that they're not alone in the world or universe. If you liked Elio, I would recommend Galaxy Quest. This space-based adventure not only shares an entertaining blend of heart and humor, but also features a similar extraterrestrial misunderstanding, with a group of actors being mistaken for an actual Star Trek-like space crew. If you'd like another sci-fi alien story with Disney's fingerprints on it, you might want to watch Can of Worms. One of the earliest Disney Channel original movies, this film focuses on a lonely teenage outcast who feels he doesn't belong on Earth, and inadvertently sends an intergalactic distress call with unexpected consequences. And if you'd rather stick with Pixar, you should watch Luca. Although it doesn't have any space aliens, it does focus on a young sea monster who finds friendship and a sense of belonging with two kids in the human world along the Italian Riviera. Alright, a couple questions for you guys. Number 1, have you seen Elio? If so, what'd you think of it? And number 2, what's your favorite movie featuring an alien abduction? Be sure to leave your answers in the comments below so we can get a discussion going. Alright, so if you got some enjoyment, insider information on this review, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit that like button. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe here at it to see more videos like this. Till next time, this has been Alyssa with Mainly Movies. The way life should be.